Hello and welcome back to Thomas's Moustache. Today we are going to be doing a review of my French press. This will be part 2 of my coffee making video series introduction review sort of extravaganza. In the last video we talked about the Stelton coffee bean grinder, and in this video we are just going to continue on. Now, I have ground the coffee beans already. Now, to press them. This here French press is reasonably easy to use. It has a handle with what appears to be a sort of aluminum or something of the sort band around the side here. That's where the handle sits on. The handle is held on with a pin, in a sense, a sort of screw. And at the bottom, it is not held on at all. On the bottom of the French press, we have a rubber foot. Water can get trapped in between when you're washing it, but I do think that it is more useful than just being a rubber foot, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, this particular French press is from Kiyodo. I got it at the supermarket. So I believe it's 800 millimeters. This is for 2 cups of coffee at once. There is an option for just a single cup, but I'm a big boy, so I need a big French press. The plunger here is pretty good. It fits in well and has a lid that has a little flange on it so that it stays in place. The plunger itself is really 3 parts. It is the metal base plate. It is a sort of metal mesh, and then it has a front plate that has drainage holes, you could say. So, all in all, I would say it lets water pass through quite well, and it all screws together. It can be taken apart, and I did have one time when I needed that. I will demonstrate for you. So by untwisting the stem, you can actually separate these 3. Now I should tell you, actually this is 2 mesh things together. So this is 2 metal mesh cloth together. You will probably not need to clean this very often, if ever. As long as you clean your French press after you use it every day, I don't think you'll need to disassemble it. So, just putting it back together, very easy. It only takes a moment. It also has one of those metal wire loop sort of things that you'd see on a binder or something. That also you would see in a bar when they're using their strainer to keep part of the drink in the mixer. You'll see that sort of thing. So it helps keep the shape, and it really does help keep that pressure on when you are putting it in here. It's a perfect fit. You should not have any coffee grind getting into your drink, because that is keeping it nice and tight against the walls. Okay, so once you get your water boiled, I don't think I mentioned actually, the cost of this particular French press is about, well, I want to say about 10 American dollars, maybe a little less. I don't know exactly. But it gives you an idea about the value of it, which is good value. Now we're going to put our coffee beans ground up in the bottom here. Okay, nice batch of coffee beans. Very well ground up. Then we're going to pour the water in. Now, before I get into it, I want to give you one piece of advice about this particular French press. Is the glass used is not the thickest, nor is it exactly the strongest. It is a value-based product, so that's not a problem in most situations. But there was one time, it was 2 winters ago now, I had the exact same French press, and when I poured the hot water in, it cracked the glass. Now it was winter, but I'm telling you, it wasn't that cold. It was maybe 7 degrees Celsius, so it's not what was that movie, The Day After Tomorrow? Or something where it's freezing cold. It wasn't like that. It was brisk, if anything. So since then, what I have been doing is I pour the hot water directly into the bottom. That time when the glass broke, when I was pouring the water, it was hitting the front here. I don't know if that is the cause, but now I pour it directly into the bottom. And I leave this rubber foot on. Don't quote me on this because I'm not an expert, but I believe that the rubber foot itself will absorb some of the heat from the glass and stop it from going from 0 to 100 too quickly. I'm sure there's other explanations, but that's what I do. So I pour directly onto the bottom here. That's 1 cup. That's 1.5 cups, which is how much I like to drink. As well, I have put the French press plunger in, but I have left it on the surface of the liquid because you should not press immediately once you have poured the water in. When you pour the water in, the coffee beans are floating around and they are filling up that water. What I like to do is let the coffee beans settle so that when I press the French press plunger here, it will have less resistance as the water from below attempts to pass through the mesh to get above the plunger here. So any experienced French press user would probably say, duh, yeah, I know. But if you are new to using French presses, that is an essential tip, because when I go online and I search up French press broke, the #1 reason is because people plunge too quickly. When you plunge too quickly, the coffee beans, they muddle up the mesh, and water is not able to pass through the mesh. As you press, you're creating pressure. In that case, pressure is building up, and when the pressure gets too much, it will break the glass. But now I would say that this is ready for plunging. One hand, easy. So little pressure, but slowly. The faster you go, the more pressure. But as you can see, by waiting for the beans to settle, it becomes so much easier. Now we're ready to pour. With the opening lined up perfectly with the spout, and I say it has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, it will spill. We are going to pour it in. Here we are in a little tiny cup here. If used properly, the French press should last a very long time. I've had this one for over a year now. Very basic. It is nothing special, but as long as you don't bang it on anything, drop it, or I guess, have too extreme temperature change or the pressure is too great when you're plunging. It should be indefinite, really. It cleans very easy. You should clean it every time, every day, of course. What I like to do is lift up the plunger. I flip it upside down. Like so. I pour tap water directly into it. Once it's cool, that gets all of the coffee grind out. And then I use a soapy cloth or soapy sponge to push that soapy water through, and it works. And then this is as easy as it can be. Just don't do it while it's still hot. Now, French presses are great. I highly recommend it if you have access to an affordable one. I think affordable works perfectly fine. So you can't go wrong with it, and that concludes my French press part of our video series. Until next time, I'll say Too-da-Loo.